Okay, so now I'm going to do exactly the thing that I just said the other night. That bad idea, but I'm going to do it anyways. I smoked a cigar earlier today, and then I've had a few beers. But I'm still going to do a fucking podcast because why not? It's Sunday night, and God damn it, I can't believe that I've done 3 podcasts in like less than a week, which is so unlike me in the last fucking year and a half or more. But I don't know. I was just, it was a good weekend overall, first of all. Let's start there. It was a good weekend, first of all. And I had some thoughts, and I mean, that's how this whole thing started anyways, was just a way for me to offload my thoughts. And I didn't really care if anyone listened or who listened or what their thoughts on it were. I just, it was a way for me, this whole show just started as a way for me to be like, here's a thought that I had through the week while I was delivering some fucking mail. And yeah, so that's kind of what happened today, was that at the end of the night, I'm driving home, and I had a bunch of thoughts on my head, and I thought, you know what, fuck it, I'll do a podcast. So it is Sunday night, May 8th right now, and I know that I just did a podcast on Thursday night. I had a really great guest, Graphite, which I'm honestly, I'm a little disappointed. I looked at the download numbers. I'm a little disappointed that those downloads were down. But in fairness, I know how podcasting. I have a general idea of how podcasting works, and like there are a bunch of shows that I listen to that release once a week, and they release the same time every week. Like they release on Sunday night every single week, and like somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock. It's the same time every week. That's when they release their show. And so if they happen to release something on a Tuesday or Wednesday, it's highly unlikely that I'm going to see that. So in the off chance that you happen to be one of those types of people that are like me, that listen to a bunch of different podcasts, and you happen to refresh your Adulting with Donnie Facebook podcasting page, rather, and see this episode, but you didn't even bother to look if there's anything else new, you should check out my last episode I recorded a couple nights ago with a very, very, very special guest. It was a fun episode for me. I hope for him as well, but definitely, for me, it was a very fun episode. But anyways, I'm coming up on the end of a really great weekend. I had a lot of fun with my mate in general. Just hanging out with her. Yesterday we were supposed to go out on the motorcycle. I'm not going to tell you exactly what we were, I'm not going to give away the spoilers here on what the motorcycle, but like we had a plan, basically. Let me put it that way. We had a plan on the motorcycle, and it kind of fell through, and I'm glad it did, because it was fucking cold yesterday. It was like 45, 50 degrees. I don't know what's going on. Me and Tom, we do this. Me, if I haven't told you, I'm sure I have. In fact, I know I have. But just as a reminder, me and Tom from the You Suck Network, we do a show called New England Natives, which is a show about being in New England and some of the cool things that go on here, some of the cool happenings in New England, some of the lore, things that you may or may not know. Maybe even some things that you do know, but you just didn't know enough about. Some news articles. Yeah, it's all sorts of New England shit. It's a fun show. And to be honest, on my drive home about 30 minutes ago, I thought about texting Tom and being like, hey, I'm in a podcasting mood. Do you want to jump on? But the thing is that I was driving home, and for that 20 or 30 minutes that I was driving home, I had a burst of creativity in my own head. And I really felt like just offloading that. As you can tell by the way, by the words per minute that I'm putting down right now, obviously I had a lot to say. I just wasn't in a let's do news articles type of mood right now. I was in more of I have some shit to get off my brain. And not that I can't ever just sit row down and be like, hey, I want to fucking talk or whatever. Like, I can always do that. But I don't know. I don't know. I can't explain it. Just the the need to do this outweighed the value of that, I guess, is kind of a bad way to put it. That's probably a really bad way to put it. But that's how I'm going to put it right now. But anyways, fuck, what was I saying? I don't know. Shit, I had a really great thought going on. But anyways, yeah, so I'm driving home 30 minutes ago and had, a burst of creativity is what I called it. That I just thought would, that's what I was talking about. I was talking about motorcycle riding. We were going to go on a motorcycle ride yesterday. And first of all, it fell through before it came to fruition anyways. It fell through on like Thursday, like Wednesday or Thursday. Like, okay, it's not going to happen. That's fine. And I'm glad it did because it was fucking cold. That's where I was going with the whole thing. Me and Tom do the whole New England natives thing, and I was going to talk about how the weather just fucking changes. And it's weird, I remember being in middle school, probably like early middle school, like 3rd, 4th grade, and being so excited for spring to come around because spring meant nicer temperatures. Like by early May, like by the time Easter came around, really, you're looking at, probably mid 50s, maybe even mid 60s, if not higher, by the time Easter comes around. And we are almost a month removed from Easter, and it is still fucking cold out. We went out yesterday. We did not take the motorcycle. Excuse me. We went to a food truck festival on Saturday, and it was funny because I'm looking around. There was, I think the end numbers at this food truck festival in this little tiny town, the end numbers were like 4,000 or 5,000 or more people showed up to this thing. It might have been their first or second run at doing this. And I looked around and I said to Ro, I was like, take a look around. Like, stop for a second. Take a look around at all these people. Look at everyone around us. People are wearing hoodies. They're wearing gloves. They're wearing fucking jeans and boots. And, some people, especially girls, no fucking, that's not sexism. It's just what I observed in my own head. But there was a lot of girls that are like, I don't know how to, they're cuddling themselves. I don't know. They got their arms around themselves because because people are so goddamn cold yesterday. And I said to her, like, take a look around. Look at all these people. Look at everyone fucking bundled up right now. And next Saturday, a week from now, the weather is calling for it to be 80 degrees. It's going to be so warm next weekend by comparison. It's still not quite perfect. I call 85. I like 85. 85 is a great temperature. But yeah, the weather here has just been, I remember, like I was saying, being in middle school and it just, end of March, early April, that meant beautiful temperatures, just like that. Like, you could wear shorts, you could wear fucking, you could wear, a t-shirt or whatever and be fine outside. And then you look at, but I also remember April vacation one year, we got an inch of snow on the ground. April vacation for my part of New Hampshire is usually the end of April, like the last week of April. That's April vacation. And I remember one April vacation waking up in the morning to an inch of snow on the ground. So who the fuck knows what's going on with this area of the country? You really never know. And I hate that cliche of like, oh, if you don't like the weather, then wait 5 minutes, it'll change. I really hate that bullshit because I do believe that it applies probably all over the world. But there's certain states that seem to have seem to have thought that they have taken that on as their own. New England especially, Texas, basically anywhere in the Midwest thinks that they can take that on as their own thing. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, it'll change. I don't know. I do think that there's something. I don't know the answer. I don't think that it's carbon emissions. I don't think that it has to do with driving gas-powered cars or anything else. I do think that the planet, that the Earth just goes through these changes. Maybe not even just the Earth, just like the galaxy or the universe goes through these weird changing areas that we don't have any control over. Nothing we have done or will do or have done, nothing at all is ever going to have any effect on that. Like it's just the way of the universe. Either I don't know how to explain it. It's just how it works. We don't have a choice in it. There's nothing we can do that will fix it. Sometimes it's going to be really hot and our polar ice caps are going to melt, and that sucks, but that is what it is. I'm sorry, we're going to have to fucking deal with it. I don't like it as a snowmobiler, personally. I definitely don't like it. I fucking hate it. In fact, I remember one year in high school, we got a foot of snow on November 10th. An entire foot of snow on the ground on November 10th. I can tell you why I remember that so vividly is because it was my first year that I had my four-wheeler, and I was excited to ride my four-wheeler in the snow. So, and I remember it being November. I remember it being the day before a day off in November that wasn't Thanksgiving. Do you know the other day off that isn't Thanksgiving in the month of November? It's Veterans Day. Veterans Day falls on the 11th of every month of every November. And so, yeah, it was the day before that, which is November 10th. So November 10th of 1997, we got a foot of snow. And we never see that shit anymore. Like, and that was, the thing was that was like a foot of snow. And it was like, okay, this is the start of the winter season. We're going to have snow all the time now from here until, early April. And that's just how it was at the time, 25 years ago. Now, we don't get as much snow anymore, and it sucks for me as a snowmobiler. It sucks. I fucking hate it. I can't tell you how irritating it is to look at the weather, and especially to look at a place like Rangeley. I always equated snowmobiling to skiing, right? If you're a skier, you can't expect the mountain to come to your house. You have to go to the mountain. As a snowmobiler, it's the same general idea. Like if you live in southern New Hampshire, especially definitely Massachusetts, southern Connecticut, you can't expect the snow to come to you. If you want to go snowmobiling, you're going to have to go to where the snow is. That's something that I didn't realize in 2000 when I bought my first snowmobile. I thought, oh, it snows here. I want to go snowmobiling and it snows here. Like that's not the case. You have to be willing to travel. You have to have a vehicle of some sort that you can be able to either put your snowmobile on a trailer or put it in the back of your pickup truck and drive to wherever you want to go snowmobiling if that's what you want to do. And if you're really hardcore, then you have to be willing to get off trail. Like I saw someone post a picture of themselves coming off of a mountain in Maine somewhere last week. May 2nd, they were coming down a mountain and they took a picture of themselves like on the final stretch where, it's, maybe 10 or 15 feet of snow and then it's all dirt down to their truck, which is still, half mile away. So you got to be willing to ride in some dirt if you really want to ride late into the season. That said, just 3 or 4 seasons ago, there were guys still riding trails until late April. So anyways, the weather, you can't choose what's going to be. And, I don't know where I've been going with that for the last 10 fucking minutes about weather. I don't actually give that much of a fuck about weather. The weather is what I was talking about motorcycles, and the weather is what it's going to be. Whatever, I remember the first year that I was a mailman. In 2013, I rode my motorcycle to work almost every single day. Do you know? And every single day I worked until about 6:30 at night, every single night. Do you know what happened every single night throughout the summer and fall of 2013? There was a thunderstorm, and I mean downpour thunderstorm that lasted anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. I remember in 2014, probably like late spring, early summer 2014, there was a news article that actually said The last 390 something days or 400 something days, out of this many days, there's been this much rain. This many days it has rained, and it was an insane amount. Out of the last 400 days, like 10 days, there wasn't any sort of rain. It was just absolutely crazy. But anyways, I said all that to say all this. We were supposed to go on a motorcycle ride yesterday. It was just even if the other plans hadn't fallen through, it was just too goddamn cold. It was awful. So we drove my truck to the food festival, and then after that, we went to a bar. We literally went to the food truck festival. We each visited one truck, like, because the lines were so long, which is fine. I mean, I'm glad that they did good, but the lines were long, so we each went to one truck, and then we were like, all right, I'm good. We came here, we saw everything. We both ate something, and let's get out of here. We went and got a beer at a bar in downtown Portsmouth, and then came home and hung out together for the rest of the day. It was fucking awesome. But my burst of and then today was great too. Roe finally back to playing softball. Softball season has, in my opinion, officially started, because she's playing again, and which is great. I love to watch her play. So she got up this morning and went and played a game. And she had 2 games today in 2 different towns, and she had said, like, do you want to come to both? Do you want to come to either one? And I wanted to go to one. I did not want to go to both. It has, and it sucks because there's people at both that I want to see. But today in particular, I was just like, I can find other stuff to do. And I also am learning. I'm slowly learning, very, 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 very slowly learning. Like, we both do need our own. I need to find more of my own thing. Like, she has her own thing. She has softball. She can go and play softball. I need my own thing. Like, I have a couple of my own things. Obviously, podcasting is a good one, or is a good example, I should say, of having my own thing. I need to, shooting guns is one of my own things. I need a better circle of friends. Most of my friends, though, the problem with most of my friends is that they're either married, have kids, everything that they want to do also includes their own significant other. Like, there's not a lot of guys that I actually want. Like Jason Almy. I would love to spend more time with Jason Almy. He has a wife and a kid, 2 kids now, that he wants to spend all of his time with. Every fucking free moment of his day he wants to spend with them. Life revolves around spending time with them. And that is, I applaud him. I absolutely applaud him. He's like 84 years old. He had kids super late in life. He found the love of his life super late. And that's great. He wants to spend his dying years as a really good dad and husband, and I applaud him for that. He is, that's great. He's, and you know what? He deserves it. As a man who stands at like 4'8" and, probably just, spent a lot of his life just trying to overcompensate with muscles and stuff. Good for him that he has found his niche. He's found his love. He's found what he wants to do. I think I asked him once, but when his wife got pregnant with the second kid, I was like, "Are you gonna stop? Are you done yet?" And he was like, "Dude, I want to have like 90 kids." Good for you. Good for him. The problem is that that's not very conducive to a relationship like I'm looking for, of like a friend that I want to fucking just be like, "Hey, you want to grab a beer?" And there's only a couple of people at work. And I really mean like a couple. Like, there might be 2 people at my work, where I would ever want to be like, hey, do you want to grab a beer after work? I should do that more often with those two particular people. I should probably do that more often. But I don't. Anyways, again, kind of lost my train of thought. But I don't care. I'll do the show how I want to. So softball's back. Let's get back to that. Softball's back. So Ro had softball this morning, and I didn't go to the first game. I had my own shit to do. Plus, I also, I kind of had a burst of energy. On top of my burst of creativity tonight, I had a burst of energy this morning where I was like, I'm going to go to the gym. I don't usually go to the gym on Sundays. I almost never go to the gym on Sundays. But I was like, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to, do some working out. And I didn't decide until I got there. A little ankle update. I didn't decide until I got there. I'm going to try jogging, not running, in my opinion. I do think there's a difference between a jog and a run. For me, running is sub 10-minute mile. Jogging is basically anything between a 10-minute mile and a 20-minute mile. That's a jog. That's where you're not really getting your heart rate up too much. You're kind of just, you're very clearly moving faster than a walk, but it doesn't look like you're really running. So this morning I was like, I'm going to try it. The doctor hasn't said go ahead, but, and I am going to ask him at my next follow-up. I'm going to ask him if it's okay to do, whatever, whether it be jogging or running. I don't think that I want to push it and go real hard, but I am going to ask him next time. But anyway, so I got to the gym this morning, and I'm thinking about the exercise bike. I'm thinking about not the treadmill, the elliptical. I'm thinking about the two and how much I'm dreading either one. I didn't want to do either one. And I thought, I'll get on the treadmill. I know already that I can walk. I know already that I can walk at a walking pace. I'm going to get on the treadmill. I'm going to walk for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to see, can I go at a really light jog? Can I do a 13-minute mile, which is a slow mile for me pre-ankle? I never got a chance, and that's one of the things that pisses me off the most, is out on the airbase that I deliver to, there's a road that is an exact mile, 1 mile of straight, flat road. And I wanted so badly to have Ro meet me out there one day and time me. Did I want her to time me? I think I wanted her to time me. I needed her. Oh yeah, I needed her for a ride. That's what I needed. I didn't want to walk a mile back. That's what I needed her for. I wanted her to drive me out, drop me off at this spot, and then she could drive down to the finish line, which is exactly a mile away, because I didn't want to stop and turn around. I didn't want to do a loop. I didn't want to do a circle or anything like that. I wanted to just go one straight mile, exactly start to finish. Here's a mile. And I wanted to see what I could do, because I do think that at 39 years old at the time, almost 40, pushing 40, I could have done a 7-minute mile, which would have made me just so very happy, because that was the plan. This is my exercise for the day. I am going to push all of it out. I'm going to put it all out on the fucking ground. When I finish this mile, there's nothing left of me to put down. And then I could get in her car and she could drive me back home or whatever. That's what I wanted to do. And I never got a chance to do that. And to be honest, I don't know, even when I feel like I can start running again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to feel like I could actually do that as good. That's the thing that pisses me off, is that let's say that in a year, okay, I have her drive me out there. She drives down the street a mile away. I run to her, and I do it in 7 minutes and 30 seconds, right? Even if I do it in 7 minutes and 30 seconds, I'm going to be like, motherfucker, if I hadn't broken my fucking ankle, then I probably could have done this in 7 minutes or less. So, but anyways, yeah, so. as I've said several times already, I don't remember where I was going. Today's Sunday, and softball, and oh yeah, I went to the gym. Oh yeah, and I ran. Kind of a very light jog, very very light jog. I did a 5-minute warm up walk, and then I did a little jog at like a 13-minute mile, which is a slow mile, and then a 5-minute cool down, and then a kettlebell workout. So, I don't usually work out on Sundays, and but it felt good to get out and do that. And then I came home, did some of my household chores and whatever, and then went over to Newmarket, New Hampshire, to watch my girlfriend play softball, and she did great. I mean, I fucking pulled up as I'm walking to the field. She hits a base run, and then she had a couple outfield catches. And she had a couple other hits throughout the game, so she did great. I'm super proud of her. First of all, I didn't get a chance to talk about it on Thursday because I had Graphite with me, and he was being kind of an asshole. The way that he was talking, he did a lot of interrupting of me. He really stole the show on Thursday, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it. But on Thursday, it's been a crazy 4 days, right? That's one of the reasons that I'm doing a recording right now. It's to give my mate some space to have her own thoughts and chill out for a second. She's been around people all day. Something that I'm getting better about, of being like, I don't have to be around her 100% of the time. I can talk about that later. But so, Thursday, so Thursday morning, I've mentioned it a dozen times, and most of you already know. She's a detective for the Portsmouth Police Department. And she will always text me if there's a traffic issue in the city, because I'm a mailman. Maybe because I'm a mailman. I think because I'm a mailman. She'll always text me if there's a traffic issue in the city. So like a state trooper got hit out on the highway a few months ago, and she texts me and says, hey, there's 95 is backed up or whatever. She'll always let me know whatever traffic issue is going on, just in case I happen to be going in that area, because I travel all over the city. So on Thursday morning, she texted me at I had just finished up at the gym, and I'm getting ready to get in the shower, and it's like 7:15. She texts me and says, hey, the bridge is closed, just so you know, traffic is fucking backed up everywhere. Okay, cool. That's at 7:15. At like 9:15, I pulled up my phone, because we hadn't really talked in the last 2 hours. I pulled up my phone to check the traffic on, in that area, and it's still really backed up. Traffic is still jammed up everywhere. And I thought to myself, because as I mentioned on Thursday, she's a member of the SWAT team. She's a crisis negotiator, and she gets activated for that kind of stuff. So, whether, she's been on that team for a very short amount of time. So, we've talked about it. She's been like, I'm not actually going to be in the action. I'm not going to be in the shit or whatever. Like, usually it's going to be getting some information, trying to find, background information on whoever we're talking to. So she texts me at 7:15. At 9:15, I check traffic. Traffic is still backed up. Gmaps still says that the bridge is closed. And I thought to myself, boy, that's weird. I'm surprised that they haven't activated her. I'm surprised that she hasn't sent me a new text saying, hey, I'm being called to the scene to assist with fucking crisis negotiation or whatever. It couldn't have been 10 minutes later. She calls me and she says, hey, I'm on my way out there because, the person that he wants to talk to has a certain set of skills that I happen to have that certain set of skills. And so she goes out there, and, she is super, super humble, in case you don't know. She's incredibly humble. And I do believe her when she says, her opinion on the whole thing, which is, this had been going on for hours, and there were other people that dealt with this person. I just happened to be the person who showed up and was able to talk to him. She was only there for 20 fucking minutes. This thing had been going on for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, something like that. And she's there for 20 minutes. And this guy says, okay, I'm ready to come up. Or I'm ready to fucking, I'm ready to give up. Whatever, however you want to put it. But I mean, it doesn't surprise me. When she told me, she called me, she called me and said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm on my way to the scene and I love you. Like, that was basically the phone call. The phone call was, I just want to tell you that I love you, which is incredible to me. Like that, I have this incredible girlfriend in the first place that would call, want to make sure that she calls me to say, I love you to me before going to this thing. It doesn't matter what it is. So that was really awesome. And in my head, there's certainly parts of me that were like, that were worried, but were also very, very confident in her ability. And I thought that was really, important, I guess is the word to put to it. So she goes to the scene, and sure enough, 20 minutes later, 20, maybe 30 minutes later, maybe 30. I'll give her 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes later, she texts me again and says, everything's good, and everything was fine, which is great. Everything worked out really great, but she is getting a massive amount of the credit for all of it, and again, super humble. So she's spreading that credit throughout everyone, throughout her entire team, the crisis negotiation team, and then also throughout the SWAT team and the rest of the police department, and across the other departments that assisted in the whole thing. She's just it's very impressive. Now, for everything that I have said, for all the positives, all the just, I mean, I can't even tell you how much I've said over the past almost 2 years of just how great she is. What my burst of creativity on my drive home tonight had a lot to do with relationships and how much work relationships really take. So obviously I'm crazy about this girl, and I'm pretty sure that she's also crazy about me. I absolutely believe her every time that she says she loves me. But relationships take a lot of work. If you want to have what her and I have, you have to be willing to put in the work. You can't just, this isn't Bridgerton. This isn't Game of Thrones. This isn't any other love story that you've ever seen. I know that a lot of my listeners, I know my listeners pretty well. I want to say yes, pretty well. I know that the demographic on my listenership is a lot of mostly guys, and mostly guys that are in relationships, in committed relationships, that have been in relationships for like long periods of time. You might be one of these people that are like looking at your relationship. This is all my opinion. I'm not a fucking psychologist, okay? I'm just speaking off the top of my head. Again, this is all shit that came into my head maybe an hour and a half ago. You might be looking at, this is, again, my opinion. Here we go. You might be looking at your relationship like, oh, everything's fine. I was in a bad relationship. All right. I was in a bad relationship for a lot of years before Roe. And I look back on that and think to myself, like, all the times where I was like, you know what, this is just how it is. This is acceptable behavior, basically. I mean, that's kind of how I justified all of it. I looked at it and thought this is acceptable behavior. She gets mad. Speaking of my last relationship, she gets mad, and basically all I have to do is sit here and say, you know what, you're right. That's, and that would put an end to it every time. That would put an end to basically every argument. I would just say, you know what, you're right. Yep, you're right. And I remember being fairly, the first couple of arguments, because again, we're not the perfect, we're great together. And I do think that we're perfect together. I absolutely think that we're made for each other. But we do have, we have our, what I call passionate discussions. Other people might call them arguments. I call them passionate discussions. She the first couple, 2, 3, 4 of them, I remember trying to say, you know what, you're right. I remember trying to do that with Ro, and I remember being kind of maybe not blown away, but just taken aback, a little bit in awe when that wasn't good enough to just look at her and say, you know what, you're right. She was like, no, that's not good enough. You have to tell me why I'm right. Like, if you think that I'm right, and she didn't say it in this many words, but the message that came across was definitely, was what I'm about to say was, look, if you want to say that I'm right, fine, but you need to show me why I'm right. Like, I'm not going to sit here and accept you just saying you're right. You need to say, you need to show me why I'm right. Show me the work is how I've put it. It's like, doing a math problem. If a kid says, well, 2 times 4 equals 8, and just writing that down on paper, like the teacher wanting you to show how you ended up at that result. That's kind of how Ro was, and is like, I can't just do that. If I want to say, you know what, you're right, then I need to be able to say, here are the reasons that you're right. Like, and kind of the same thing in the reverse. At least I think so. Anytime that I've been right, which is probably a little less often, anytime that I've been right, I don't have to say that. I don't ever have to get to that point. She's usually very good about saying, like, you know what, you're right. I should done, I should do this, or I should have done this, or I should, in the future I will do this type of thing. But it's just so very different. And I have dealt in the last, I don't know, in the last 2 years, let's call it 2 years. Matter of fact, let's call it 2 decades. I've dealt with a lot of insecurity, and it's been insecurity and anxiety. I get scared. I get scared sometimes of, like, I definitely get scared of things are going so good. When do they go wrong? That's something that I definitely need to, like, get away from. And this was my burst of creativity on the way home tonight, of just thinking, not necessarily thinking like, oh, things are going to go wrong. Like, I texted Ro on my way home and said, thank you for a great weekend. This has been such a great weekend, and just want to say thank you for it. Not thinking like something's going to go wrong, but my burst of creativity was just thinking about our relationship and how good we've made it, and how far we've come. Holy shit, how far we've come. Someone, I don't want to say his last name, I'll say his first name, Evan, just commented on one of my posts the other day, saying, like, something along the lines, I'm not going to pull it up either, but something along the lines of just like how much I've changed in the last 2 years since I met Ro, since we became, a couple. I don't want to make this the fucking Rochelle Donnie episode, but it's gonna probably be that way, so fucking sorry. It's my show. I'll do what I want to do. As I've always said, this show is more of a thing for me to offload some of my thoughts, and that's just how it works. I've dealt with anxiety and insecurity, especially insecurity. Like, just like, I deal with a lot of, how does, I can't imagine what I've done to deserve this level of happiness. I dealt with so much PTSD in the last almost 20 years. And so much like, you don't deserve happiness. You don't deserve, a lot of, maybe not in the last 2 years, but prior to the last 2 years, a lot of, you don't even deserve to be alive is what I dealt a lot with. I dealt with so much of that. You don't deserve to be alive. You shouldn't be here. Like, these are the devil on the shoulder type of thoughts of like, you don't deserve to be here. You don't deserve anything good. You don't deserve any sort of happiness. You don't deserve, anything that good coming to you. You shouldn't even be here. I mean, thoughts like that are what led to me doing a second tour in Iraq, re-enlisting. I was out good. I was out completely, and I re-enlisted to go back because I thought, I shouldn't be here in, on this side, on the safe, quote unquote, safe side of things. I should be like in danger. I should have died the first time around. So maybe I should go back for, a second time, and maybe I'll catch it then, type of thing. So I don't know. Moving on. Sorry, I don't mean to like move on so quickly. It has more to do with, as per usual, losing my train of thought. I have fear. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I'm trying to figure it out. I am trying to work on it, trying to learn about it. But I do have like fears of abandonment. I don't know why. There's, from what I've read through my Wikipedia and Audible research, a lot of fear of abandonment comes from like, as a child, a parent leaving you. Maybe that's through divorce or through just, someone walking away or whatever. I have this weird fear of abandonment. I was just at Rose's softball game tonight and talking to one of the husbands there, and he's talking about his dog, his fucking dog. I'm not a dog. His dog having a separation anxiety. And while he's telling me about some of his dog's separation anxiety, I'm like, boy, that's weird. Like, I'm thinking to myself, I would never fucking admit this to some husband at a softball game. But I'm thinking to myself, like, well, shit, like I have some of that fear too. Like, I've told Ro 100 times now, when Ro gets home, as Graphite said the other night, Graphite was on the show the other night. When Ro gets home at night, he comes running up. He can't wait to see her. He genuinely comes running down the hallway or running from the upstairs to run to her to say hi, and she picks him up, and she gives him all these hugs and whatever. And I think to myself, like, I have some of that. Like, there's parts of me whenever she leaves the house, I feel very alone. I don't really know why that is. I try to think back to my own childhood, what may have caused that, and I just don't know. I don't know what it is. I grew up, thankfully, in a household where my parents did not get divorced. I remember my mom laughing very hard when I came home from high school, my first day freshman year, because I went to Catholic school. From the time that I started going to school, whatever you want to call that, preschool or kindergarten or whatever, that was all private school right up until 8th grade. My graduation from 8th grade, I was in private school the whole time. And freshman year of high school was the first time that I went to a public school. I came home from school the first day, and my mom asked, "How was school today?" And I said, I think I'm the only kid at that school whose parents are still together. Everyone else is divorced. And she got a good laugh out of that. So my parents were together the whole time. I think I can say with reasonable certainty my mom died 15 years ago. I think it's 2022, 16 years ago. 16 years ago is when my mom died. And I think I can say with reasonable certainty that if my mom hadn't died, if she was still alive today, if my dad was still alive today, I think that they would still be married. I think that if a drunk driver hadn't killed my mom, then and nothing else bad happens, then I think that my parents, there's no reason they wouldn't still be together. I mean, my douchebag brother, who I don't care for. I don't like to use the word brother in the same sentence as this person. But he's the youngest, nonetheless. And at the time, he would have been about 23 years old. And when my mom died. So he's outside of 18. He's well outside of 18 at that point. There's no, I've seen and heard of plenty of parents who got divorced after their kids turned 18 or after they turned 20 or after they got out of college. Like once the kids were no longer this is why we need to stay together, the parents got divorced. My brother was 22, 23 years old. And my parents were making plans for the future. My parents were making plans for, buying a place in Florida, not to fucking move to, but to just have it as a second place. Like they were making all these types of like future plans, like retirement plans, If things hadn't gone the way that they did, I think that they absolutely would have been together for 60, 70, 90, 100 years before, one of them died. I think that if my father died instead of my mom probably would have stayed single. That's what I think is the biggest difference. But that said, I think that women are different than men. I think that men do have a need for a woman in their life. They have I think that men have a need to have someone someone to fucking talk to at night and go to bed with and, all that stuff. Versus women, I think, have a stronger personality of being able to be alone. I think that women have a much easier time. I don't know if easier is the right word. I don't know. I guess just a stronger personality of being able to, if they need to be alone, then they can. I had my grandmother on my father's side. Okay, so let's go with my father's side of the family. My father's side of the family, my grandfather dies when I'm 8 years old. My grandmother, for the next 21 years, is alone. She lives alone. She mostly lived alone. I mean, my aunt, I think the last 2 or 3 years took her in to live with her, but she mostly lived alone that whole time. She never went looking for another husband or anything like that. Go to my mom's side of the family, about 4, 5, 6 years before my grandmother died. My grandfather was asking my father. This is before my grandmother's even dead. My father is asking. I don't give a fuck who's listening at this point. My grandfather was asking my father, because my father is a private investigator. My grandfather is asking my father to look up some woman in Texas that he used to date. So I think there's a big difference between the two, men and women. I think that women, if they can be alone, take Roe, for example. If I hadn't come along, I can't speak. I don't know. I can't speak for every other guy in the world. There could have been some other guy that came along and swooned her and made her fall in love. There could be. It could have happened, I guess. But if it hadn't happened, if I hadn't come along, then Roe easily could have spent the rest of her life, not necessarily by herself, but because she has her group of friends that she's great with and whatever. But she didn't need to have a guy in her life. And to be honest, even today, she doesn't have to have a guy in her life. That's what I'm trying to get at with this whole relationships take work thing. She doesn't like it. I don't think she likes it. when I say that, every morning I wake up and I feel like I need to re-earn her love. I need to wake up in the morning and, from the time that I open my eyes to the time that I close my eyes again at the end of the night, I need to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can to prove that I'm a guy that she wants to be with, that she needs to be with, that maybe not needs to be with. That's a bad way to put it. That she wants to be with, that deserves the love that she gives. I don't know. I had a whole thought there of why relationships take work. But anyways, relationships take work. You got to if you want to have something successful, if you want to have a successful relationship, that, and I don't even mean successful in the term of time of like, my parents is a great example. You could look at my parents and be like, successful. What do you call successful? If my mom hadn't died, if everything goes fine and they're together for 70 or 80 years, whatever the time frame ends up being, do you call that success? You could call it success if you want to. Was it happy? Because I would equate that into the whole thing. I would put that into the equation. And now I already fucked up that perfectly made statement. I would put that into the equation of successful and happy. Because you can have relationships, especially, if you're someone that got married in the 40s or 50s, but either A, you don't know what divorce is, or you just refuse, like Will Smith and Jada. Like, is that a successful relationship? That's a great example, actually. That's a example and question. Is it a great relationship? Is it successful? They've been together for years. I mean, they've been together for 20-something years, 25 years. I don't know. They've been together for a long time. So is it a successful relationship? I would say yeah. I'd say absolutely. It's a successful relationship. They've been together that long. Is it happy? Abso-fucking-lutely not. She is a goddamn terrorist. She is just... And you could tell years ago when the whole her openly cheating on him thing came out that it was not a happy relationship. She's not as famous as him. She obviously has a degree of fame. Everyone basically knows who she is, but do you know who she is because of Will? At this point, I'm not even sure. I don't think that I knew who Jada was before Will Smith. I mean, Will Smith was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Bad Boys, Independence Day. He had so many great roles in the 90s and early 2000s. Not so much in recent history. Basically, anything after the movie After Earth, Will Smith has not been great in, except for Bright. Bright was a great movie. But, I don't know. I wouldn't call that a successful marriage. I don't care how long they end up being together. I really hope that he sees the light and he, breaks up with her at some point. Okay. How long has this been going on? It feels like this has been a really long episode. 53 minutes. It's been long enough. I can tell you that. I got to go to bed. It's 11 o'clock at night. I got to wake up at 4:30. So I'm going to call it for the night. I hope you all have enjoyed it. I hope you've gotten some insight out of me on, fucking relationships, I guess. Check out 4HM Clothing, AdamEve.com, and StrikeForceEnergy.com. Those websites, all of them use offer code ADULTING, and you will get some varying degree of discount. And I don't give a fuck anymore about the whole 1 minute thing on Adam Eve. They haven't paid me in a year. So if they start paying me again, then I will start giving them a minute. So that's going to do it for me. I will talk to you guys soon, probably. Jesus Christ, at this fucking rate, I'll probably talk to you sooner than later. This is like my third episode in a handful of days. All right, it's my third episode in a week. All right, I did an episode last Sunday. I did an episode on Thursday, and now it's Sunday night, and I'm doing another episode. And who knows? I don't know. Sometimes I just get these bursts of creativity. That's what I'm going to call them, bursts of creativity. I don't think that this one's done. I think that I'm probably going to do. I think that I didn't hit all of the bullet points I wanted to tonight. Basically, I was driving home from Newmarket, which is only a 15, 20-minute drive. I was driving home tonight and had this burst of creativity, but I took no notes on my way home. And then I got home, and I said to Ro, I think that you've had a busy day, and I think that I want to do a podcast. Do you mind if I go upstairs and just hit record for a little while? And she said, yeah, that's no problem. And then I came upstairs, and then I started taking notes, but they weren't very good. They weren't very good notes. So maybe I'll, what in the editing process of the show, I'll be like, oh, I fucking missed that thing that I want to talk about. Excuse me. So, all right, that's going to do it for me. Have a good night, everyone. I hope you all have a great week, and I will talk to you again very, very soon.